the lock-in here. I thought with Yone up, that would definitely be something that Care would want to prioritize. He's played it a ton over the course of this year, but they want to go for the Vi instead. Why not really let through?
Shadow just gave us the stare, like the wholesome kind stare. That was wild. I love to see that.
You gotta love the emotions running through these players right now.
Couldn't tell if he was like being aggressive, inquisitive, curious. He's being nice. We get the Xin Zhao anyways for BH1, so that is the normal meta of the Vi versus the Xin Zhao, but it's also something that didn't necessarily work out for BH1 the first time around last night.
Yeah, this does feel a bit out of character for BLG. I think they still are, maybe to an extent, limit testing what they feel comfortable with. Obviously, Weibo's a very good team, and so, you know, maybe you didn't get a full idea of what the Xin Zhao could do for you, but it's going to be the Jwei as the follow lock. I mean, it's very clear where BLG want to go. We talk about early tempo, early pressure. That's what they're indexing entirely into. The skirmishing potential in the mid game already pretty off the charts for BLG. I imagine more proactive mid laners coming in here for FPX. See what the answer to the Jwei on the top side will be. It looks like it's the Mbessa for now.
It's going to be a big comfort pick for Sheer. Definitely loves finding those backline accesses with the public execution. Now I want to see the combination that you're going to grab for this mid jungle. It's going to be the Rise. So still something that we have seen from Care before, but it gives him that mobility out of mid lane once you hit that level 6 mark, and a lot of power in the scaling opportunities.
Yeah, the Rise to me was a no-brainer here. If you're going to pair anything up with the Vi right now in this meta when Taliyah or Ahri are off the board, I think it has to be the Rise, something that can move around like that. But it's a global match here from BLG with Knight going on to the Galio. He's been really successful on this champ over the course, I believe, of this split and his career. But really excited to see the combat power that BLG are establishing early to try and match the overall map potential that FPX have.
It is the first time he's played it this split, and last split he was really devastating on it as well. It's definitely towards the style of him not being super hyper carry this time around. Although I will give it to him. I mean, Galio can do some devastating things with the builds that you can go with it, but still taking the onus out of him a little bit, maybe a little bit more so towards Ben, but also maybe towards Elk and On as we get into the second phase of bans. It's towards these ADCs, as it's already the Kai'Sa banned by BLG, FPX banned away the Ezreal that Elk just popped off on last night.
Yeah, I expect Jhin to potentially be a ban to come in here as well, just to take away safety options, especially for FPX, who I think really want to try and make a lot of these proactive plays, but even BLG would benefit from taking something like Jhin off the board, but it's going to be the opposite route. We're going the completely different direction here with the Draven as the
Awesome's
ban
Draven is
BLG.
nuts. I'll give him that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about player diff, you definitely don't want to give Awesome what people consider to be his most comfortable champion, but it's actually going to be the Renata, kind of a pseudo-Kalista ban coming in there. As the final one. Bit intriguing, but
we're getting a bunch of subtweets. This time around. You had the Ahri ban from the Vi Ahri, you get the Renata ban, so the Kalista isn't there. Just go ahead and add them. Gosh, God, get it over with. Lovers Duo may be coming through here for BLG if they can make it to that counter pick, but right now it is the Xayah for Elk.
Yeah, the Rakan was picked by BLG in game
it was.
So
I'm so
this
stupid.
Would just Fearless is it's a lot to track, but this would just be the Xayah. And Elk loves Xayah. Elk's played Xayah forever. This was a comfort pick for them a lot last year. It is very safe, but we were talking about the hyper carries. We were talking about things that could play a little bit more main character late game for Awesome, and it is going to be the Jinx as the lock. And this is an interesting hover. We don't want to talk about it too much.
I like the hyper carry nature of it, and you have that kind of pop-off moment if you can get that singular pick, get that excited nature for the Jinx, and you have that tool to do it with the Vi and a lot of follow-through with that. So they have a pretty clear composition cut out for them in this game number 2. I think a little bit more easily executable than that game number 1 was for them, even if that game 1 was serious comfort. Now the Nautilus kind of brings everything together too.
And I think this shows some adaptation to the patch itself, because I think this team comp does play towards, I think, the new changes a bit better than their draft in game number 1 did, where I think they were still relying on some of their previous information that they had from some other series. But yeah, engage threat, Rel, definitely the best one left on the table coming in for On, and pretty standard comps on both sides. Once again, I do think that we're looking at something that I would consider to be blue side favored. I think you're going to hear me say that a lot coming out of draft, but I really like the Jinx. I'm going to kind of call my shot that these hyper carries, I think, will start to increase in terms of priority and success rate, and I think it's set up pretty well in this game.
I like it. And bot lane focus, especially after Elk was kind of popping off on the misfortune. Maybe that 2v2 going the other way this time around. But FPX need something. This series is important for them to kind of get a leg up. But BLG, they're looking to keep the streak going. They feel reinvigorated with this new jungler in Beichuan. And now they're going to enable him even a little bit more. See if that zins out, if it was a fluke in that first cave yesterday, and see if it can actually bring them a little bit of victory. Again, taking the power a little bit more so out of Knight's hands, even if the Galio is still strong. And that's going to be a decision that maybe they come back to regret, as FPX trying to bounce back from what was a pretty devastating game number 1.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the early game goes down, but a lot of pressure being put onto Awesome in particular to really step up in a moment against some very experienced players. Excited to see that. Like you said, more Beichuan on Xin Zhao. I think Knight playing the Galio, if he can get out on the map and roam, I think it's going to be fun. A lot of fun storylines going into this one. FPX, it's step up or step aside time.
Yep, the rematch from earlier this week where FPX took down BLG 2-1. But now it's a different beast. It's a different animal. It's Beichuan in the jungle, and they look a hell of a lot better. An important one for both teams, but an important one for these junglers to set the pace themselves in this game. Both of them have a lot of skirmish tools. Level 6 unlocks a lot of things for them, but early pathings, now that we have this later spotting objective, become also more important. Game number 2 of BLG versus FPX, kicking off now. We got 2 that time. Let's go. Maybe they're going with it. Maybe you get 1 cheer per game.
And we're ramping up. It's every win they get every subsequent win they get an extra one. So
there you go.
Excited to see that, but I'm very curious to see what the decisions in the early game from Shadow are going to be. Once again, I do think a lot of the early game tempo kind of dictates on whether or not he wants to try to make any plays happen. This time, I don't think he necessarily has the tempo to be able to do that, but you know, I think really the player to highlight coming out of draft is Awesome. It's really going to be on his shoulders here for FPX. As much as the Rise and the Mbessa can set up a lot of these plays, it's a Jinx comp when you draft around this bot lane, so.
What year are we in right now? Is this 2025? Did we take it timely? Who leashes in 2025? And BLG really taking the concept of being all together as a team, literally. They're going to help out with that bot lane clear, give a little bit of speed to Beichuan. They will lose out on the level 2, but honestly, they might have done so anyways with the way that FPX want to play this 2v2. It is the opposite side start for both junglers. See where they want to focus off with those first paths.
Yeah, we'll see if BLG want to try to play aggressive here. And
Jwei canceled his auto.
Yeah, Jwei definitely needed a little bit more aggressiveness to try and dissuade that, but really not a lot you can do here. This was already a lane that I think was going to be a little tough for Xayah and Rel. I think that's why they probably felt comfortable with the leash get Beichuan as active as possible, as quickly as possible, but Jinx Nautilus is going to exert a lot of that tempo early. I think it's definitely the part of the map that FPX is going to have the most tempo in as the hook goes wide there.
Oh, playing like a master, where this lollipop can be. Xayah feeling pretty safe at this point as well. You'll see now if Shadow can maybe get some timing down here if they want to try to go for an under tower, but against Leona, or against rather Rel, the series CC coming in as well, very, very difficult. And I don't know if that means that maybe FPX trend elsewhere. The biggest thing is if you have Prio on bot lane, it maybe means Dragon can start going down a little bit earlier for you. Do you think FPX wants to put a little bit of Prio on that?
I certainly would if I was FPX. I think that that's a fantastic win condition for them. I think playing around these front to backs with a hyper carry, that's the Dragon win con, but see it, hook land. Nice drop.
A little bit of a lollipop to suck on for Elk, but the Blade Caller going to give Jwei a little bit of answer right back. On wants the kill, one more auto, mount up and take it. Burst blood for BLG on bot lane.
That is not good for FPX. Shadow going to potentially try and make a play here to pull it back. Yeah, he's on a ward. They see him here. They know that it's possible.
He has the flash plate. Oh, he didn't go for it.
Though.
He was close. He thought about it. He was like, if it's not going to make it, it's not worth it. So First game going a little bit awry for FPX. Will be spotted out on that one. Still will be the scuttle trade, but Beichuan will already have gotten the top scuttle and now resetting down towards bot side as his bot lane resetting now as well.
Yeah, ultimately, it's not the worst exchange in the world for FPX, especially with the kill going over to On. Awesome's really not set behind all that much in terms of the way things are going, but one thing to note, we are actually seeing no 4.5-minute lane swap coming in from these bot lanes. We're seeing a trade on the top side instead, so interested to see that that's the adaptation going into Game 2 after we saw kind of the more standard, what we've seen recently, where bot laners kind of head to the top side at that 4.5-minute mark.
This is going to be a little bit memey. It's two teams who definitely are taking this really seriously, but how much of that is they thought there was going to be an early spawn of growth?
Hey, you can't put it past.
You literally just started. Like, this is the first day of the patch you get to play. You literally played last night on a completely different map. Like, that's actually wild. I know I'm memeing a little bit. I know they probably know the timer is coming through, but it's really funny.
Honestly, I would kind of believe you with the way that they played game number 1, not only in terms of the lane swap, but they blew all the cooldowns way before Grubs even spawned. It really felt like they just were kind of going on habit there, but definitely more of a patch-specific adaptation coming in game number 2 with these lanes being a bit more normalized. But again, you see that 800 gold lead for BLG in terms of the what we see on the top of the map here, but that's all on Rel. This is a non-existent lead at the moment outside of potentially Bin. Flash for flash in the mid lane.
Right. Looking for the play. They might have taken the flash taunt out, but still trying to pull it off. That's going to be a really big trade, though, ahead of these objectives as well, not having that flash for either mid laner. I'll say, though, Sheer starting to fall a little bit behind in this solo lane up here. They are going to be level 6 now, but Bin having prio, if they do keep it up, will give BLG a little bit of a fighting chance around those grubs now that they are so important in the fact that there's only one spawn of them. We're looking at bot lane now, though. Shadow looking to be proactive, looking to get something going for Awesome.
That's exactly what we wanted to see, Shadow prioritizing the bot side, and quite frankly, this is what BLG should be doing as well. When Galio has pressure onto Ryze, which he absolutely should in this matchup, and if Bin is going to dominate this top lane like this, then Grubs should be free. This should just be a trade of objectives, I would imagine, from these two teams. I think they're still trying to weigh out the pros and cons of that decision as we, get these new Grubs and the new consequences for giving over Grubs, but it does look like that's going to be potentially a prioritization. But Shadow's here on the top side. I would be nervous about an engage here for FPX.
I'm trying to fight over the Scuttle Crab here. Vi very strong in the early scuffles.
Ryze is first.
Yeah, they do end up having to move over, so that means Beichuan will be forced out of this Scuttle Crab take. They are getting closer and closer to that grub spawn in about a minute. FPX realized that. Wonder how much of a back priority there's going to be for Sheer in this top lane, who is lacking a lot of health, but just surrounding out this top side of the map as they leave Awesome in bot side to try to get some farm going.
I think this is perfectly fine for FPX here. Oh, Sheer.
Oh, it's the
Shadow's here.
The bait of a lifetime. In his 200th game,
no.
Shadow sets Sheer up for success. They take him down. They burn Knight's ultimate, and Sheer will make it out alive. Oh, they might find the play back.
Well.
Let's look at Shadow, try to get the re-engage there. They're going to try to collapse over. Sheer sticking around. On is coming out of the bush there to get into the wave. That setup now maybe a little bit offset before these grubs spawn in about 15 seconds. Back coming through from Sheer to redeploy.
I would say great bait by Shadow, but honestly, Bin needed to be a lot more careful around that timer. Again, I think there's new patch. Death Bush incoming.
They're there. Level 5 is not nearly enough to burn. Maybe not enough after the shield coming through, so On gonna stay alive with a smidgen of health. The grubs have already been spotted by Beichuan, as now Shadow coming around the corner here. Shock Blast gonna miss. First grub going the way of BLG. Now they go into the fight. Sheer coming over. Mega Death Rocket's gonna hit on the Knight. They do have the fight on the Shadow. Shadow's going down now. Beichuan's still alive. The Blade Caller not gonna get the CC chain onto Jwei, but the flash, the Feather Storm, and BLG, they just cut down FPX. The wings have been clipped, and that's gonna be all 3 grubs going to Bilibili.
How could they play it that poor? How can they walk up to a situation they have no support really to affect that play in any way. Sorry, I'm flabbergasted. I have no words for that play. It really felt like that should have been an FPX fight win, but it's just played better by BLG. I want to give a ton of credit to Elk in that fight. Not only the ultimate, the flash to really secure that, but a lot of the damage he was able to output throughout a lot of that fight been here. But we're going to see the start of this. FPX have full priority here. You see the roam coming up from Elk, but he should be zoned almost entirely out of this. It's a nice rocket coming in, but Han has no health. Elk's on the back line. It's just over before it even starts. It just feels completely disconnected from FPX. Sheer doesn't even really make his way to the fight until it's over. Not a good call from FPX, and it really cost them a big part of their lead that they had been able to generate. With Dragon still up, we'll see if they maybe want to try and trade that objective like they probably wanted to all along.
And some of the pieces really coming together strongly. A lot of focus on that mid-jungle duo. Obviously, a really good step up from Elk there in that situation, but this front line is really being difficult for FPX to deal with. They won't look for the early Dragon here. Dragon will still be standing by the wayside about 10 minutes in. But you have to think now with the 3 grubs, that BLG's siege will be very potent and hard to deal with for FPX as well. They're still looking to scale. Again, we talked about the strengths of FPX and what their comp does well.
Yeah, that's the benefit that FPX has this game that they didn't have in game number 1, is that they do have the scaling in this one. And I think that does give them at least a little bit of confidence to potentially try and take some of these fights, even if they don't go perfectly. See Sheer trading on the top side. But I do think as we look throughout what the rest of this mid-game is going to look like, we're going to see some proactivity here.
All right, let's see if he gets the lollipop, the depth charge. The turret is there to block him off. Sheer goes under turret. Ben getting the outplay. Care almost goes down. It will be Ben's life traded, but Jwei now tanking the turret as Knight gets the cleanup kill. And it looks like we're going back to game 1. It's 1-for-1. We'll see a little bit more going on to Care. Mega Death Rocket! Awesome! He steals the dragon. That's 11 minutes in. It is an absolute fiesta here. And Care's going to try to get himself out. Now Elk is fighting in mid lane. Care, he's about to go down. Get the slam in by Knight, who's picking up kills left and right.
It's chaos everywhere on the map, Mazel. It's just fight after fight after fight. A lot to digest in terms of how that play ended up going down. I think that's a huge positive overall for BLG. Knight is now really online. We see the CS lead that Knight's been able to generate individually with Care trying to be proactive, but now with 2 kills on his side, he has all of a sudden become somebody that's going to be very difficult to break through. And you're just getting further and further away from the win condition if you're FPX here. Awesome not having that same kind of pressure. It's a 1.5k gold lead now, but looking forward to what the plays are going to look like. Is it another death push here for FPX?
Oh, they find the combo. The trap shot's not going to get him, though, on the other side. Just a tiny bit out of range of the CC chain from FPX. They're going to keep looking. They're going to keep going. They're going to ward out this topside jungle against BLG. Now Care's getting all in by Ben. Ben said, I'm tired of being on the sideline. I want to fight. And now Sheer getting caught out himself. Top lane, though, and Ben, the one to initiate the fight. Sheer engaged on in topside. A little bit of a different stake between the top laners right now, but FPX looking to answer in kind against BLG's 3-man up here above the Baron pit. Jwei
they're just
going
so far
for the engage.
forward.
Now it's a 4v3, still favored for the side of FPX, but now the TP coming in. Big combo from the Magnet Storm. Knight tanking up a Storm. Sheer gets the pick-off kill. The Shock Blast is enough to help get a little bit of damage back. And now Beituan looking to pick up the Slack, looking to pick up everything. Care is still here, but FPX, they're losing health. So Awesome is going to cleanse, but the Feather Storm sweeps him up and takes him down. BLG extend their lead to over 2,000, and that lead is about to bloom just like the blossoms on the rift.
BLG continue to take advantage of what FPX deems to be a good situation. On is very far forward, posturing as if he's got his full team behind him. He doesn't, but he understands that he has enough time to buy that Elk can make his way up from the mid lane and really be able to impact that fight. FPX, to their credit, wanted to try and burst that down, but they just don't have the priority. They're playing this like a pick comp. They're playing it like they have Vi Ahri, but the Ryze, you gotta play around it just a little bit differently, and unfortunately for FPX, they're going to fall behind because of it. Lucky for them, no objective to take off of that fight, which is really what salvages it. But as you can see, they think they have something here because there's no Xayah, and she's going to be making her way up. The teleport has to come in, but we see they just don't have enough damage, and Shadow dies instantly in this fight.
actually so tight-knit at the beginning of this, but then things start to boil down. As soon as Elk and Bin have an angle here, Elk is a menace. He's just completely targeting Awesome, knows that he can get him down. And I love the Feather Storm as the little bit of flair on the back end of it. And now this lead is about 3,000 up for BLG, maybe looking to make it more. As Elk in a 1v3 now too, almost kills him. Mega Death Rocket going to be flashed out of, as On also made it out of that fight in the end. Shadow almost loses his life for it. Care was in the top side, but needs to back because the siege could come through from BLG. You have to remember, you cannot let them just pick apart these side lanes. They have 3 grubs.
Yeah, and they're going to utilize it. They're on this bot lane tier 2. They've got Knight here. Sheer is in a very dangerous spot, but it's going to be Jwei potentially trying to protect here. Shadow almost dying in a 1v3 to Elk. Elk is playing out of his mind this game so far on the Xayah. We talked about it being a comfort champion. He is showcasing that right now. We talked about Awesome really needing to be the main character for FPX, the one where all the resources were gathered for. Elk is really showing out as the AD carry to watch here, and with Rift Herald spawning now in 3 seconds, Shadow in the area. We're going to see if FPX want to try and prioritize this. Ryze is making his way to the top side, but, you know, I just think it's dangerous. It's risky to try and go for it so quickly. See the pinks coming down mid lane.
Game 1 was a game for Knight. Game 2 is a game for the boys. Elk is putting in the work here on the Xayah. Even if not as flashy, can still have a lot of personalization the way you utilize it. And now we have a couple objective decisions coming up. Rift Herald soon to be started by BLG as I speak about it. But Dragon is coming up on the other side. FPX could go up to 2 Dragons, but there's already a collapse here by FPX. And maybe not going for that counter trade just yet.
Yeah, it's just really hard to imagine FPX feel comfortable enough to make a play like that. Here's going to continue pushing it on the bot side, but they are just going to go for that dragon trade. This is, in my opinion, the correct thing to do. Just start stacking those dragons. That can be your win condition. If you're going to get to 3 especially, that can really force BLG to make a decision, but it's going to be the Rift Herald dropped mid.
Standing gold still on the table here. They got feats already with that first turret. Now they're looking to knock down even more. Another charge coming through, and this time they're going to go into a tier 2 turret. Get a massive amount of damage, but the flank is coming. They decide to turn. They go on to Awesome. Awesome is down. On is the one that claims the kill. Now TP coming in as well from Knight to join the fight. There's Care getting out with his flash. Another turret falls. A third charge. No way. 55 health. He's going towards top side. No way. He gets it. A third charge for BLG's new jungle rather in the top lane. And that's the play from Elk to try to get the kill back, but Care ends up picking off On. Now Shadow on a flank, on the deep angle here with Sheer. They're going to try to take the fight from BLG, though. Care in a lot of trouble. There's the Dreads line coming in. BLG looking to go fight Night City here as it's immediately the cease and desist with the combos. This is FPX's combo they drafted for, and they end up finding the pick on the Elk. Now Beichuan has to run away, get a smite hit to get a little bit of that distance broken, but the flash play from Shadow, he wants him. The Hex Gates as well, and here comes FPX to punish Beichuan for what he has done, as he might be getting out still. Wind becomes lightning, and On stutter stepping. Oh, that's BM.
What an exchange. If BLG overextending the most they possibly can, given the resources that they have, feeling themselves just a tad bit too much. On ends up basically full engaging at like a quarter health as his jungler rides the Rift Herald top lane, and it ends up being a bit of a negative play overall, but still such a lead for BLG after that play that I think you can excuse them a little bit. You're still looking overall at a good game situation, but we're going to see the replay here on at half health here as he's just posturing so aggressively.
It's a little bit of an interesting angle, that's for sure. But
it's a nice play from Shadow to flank here, and I like the aggressiveness.
I like the angles here as well from FPX. I think it was really crucial here. Obviously, it went a little bit south for Elk. The follow through though, man, Schwab getting away. And the fact that Odd steps up to stutter step when he had nothing to do with that last chase, and just trying to mental diff FPX there. But now we are on second items for some members on the rip, but we're getting closer to that for majority. And seeing if that scaling is really going to be the answer for FPX once they get to those 3 items as well.
Yeah, I usually don't like saying this about teams in the LPL, but I think FPX just kind of needs to take it easy for a little while and just survive. I say that as they try to make a proactive play on the bot side, forcing Knight's Flash.
Get the TP coming out as well from Care. Trying to take down the turret, but the wave has been cleared there now. BLG going to try to play towards top and mid. There's a lot of bodies from FPX still on the bot side of the map. The reset's going to come through from Shadow. Knight going to try to take the engage because they know they have the long angle here. And maybe they still collapse on a sheer on, realizing, yeah, maybe they need to just go for Jwei. Jwei does get out with a nice dredge line from there. Nothing else coming of it. Dragon still not for another minute and 40 seconds. Atacon will be coming up in about 30 seconds. That'll be on the top side of the map, though, if BLG want to readapt focus. Still 4,000 gold in the lead for Bilibili Gaming.
Top side, Otacon definitely makes it a little bit more interesting in terms of the trades. BLG can take whatever objective they really want right now, but allowing that dragon stacking could get a bit dangerous. But with how strong this new Otacon is especially, I really do think it becomes a bit more of an interesting decision. I'm going to be very curious to see where BLG want to put that priority. I think it's pretty easy for me to say that they should just go and win a fight around Dragon and really take away every bit that FPX have, and it does look like that could potentially be an option, but it's actually going to be the pathing to the top side here. I would imagine that overall it could just be a happy little trade if they want to take it, but still a game state that BLG are going to be pretty happy about.
Indeed. They have real control over this map, which once they've gotten a lot of the time, even in the fluctuations we've seen from the roster, they still do have a lot of good levels of win percentages when they have a lot of control on the map. But now they have that big gold lead for themselves, working through it. Dragon coming up in about 30 seconds. Would be nice for them to try to utilize this advantage to stop some of that stacking of that Dragon by FPX, but the Atacon just going to be burned down with no real response yet from FPX. They are running. They are sprinting. TP coming in from Sheer, but it's late as hell. And now they already take the Atacon. You have to think that FPX just have to back away. They're about to get engaged on. Jwei's going to have to find an exit here as On's looking to stream forward. Care going forward. He just got his ROA popped now too. Big heroic entrance to reset the fight. And Shadow's gone down too. FPX are falling apart. They're falling asleep. And now that's going to be everybody falling down. A double kill for Knights. Galio, as FPX are now pinned against the wall, pinned against their base, and Dragon, as well as mid lane, should go the way of BLG.
It's just complete indecision from FPX. It looks like the call is, okay, they're taking Otacon, we have Dragon spawning in 15 seconds, let's get vision priority, let's establish everything we need around this. But no, after they've already gotten Otacon to half health, they're like, actually, maybe we should try and contest this. You have your top laner teleport in, it's gone. You can't fight 5v5, especially not when you're the first team at an objective. Just a lack of decision-making coming in from FPX. It's just a really concerning trait, but BLG taking advantage to get an even bigger lead, and especially with all that gold going to Galio, that makes it even more difficult to burst through that front line. And I think at this point, you're looking at FPX very much being on the back foot. Even their scaling win condition becomes more difficult now that BLG has taken that third Drake.
And again, it's so funny because you literally get results-based analysis for this series if BLG are to win this one. Losing that series against FPX 2-1 earlier this week, that was the backbreaker. That was what signified the changes. That's what led to Beishuan being picked up by BLG. I'll stick to the word reinvigorated because this team is just active. They are bloodthirsty. They're looking for things. They're being proactive. And it feels like that's not the BLG we've seen in recent memory. And it just feels damn good to see the likes of Knight, the likes of Bin, the likes of Elk actually having pop-up performances once again. Maybe it is a new era for BLG.
BLG are such a fun team to watch when they're playing well. They are so good at so many areas of the game that they just create these gigantic mismatches, and that's what we're seeing here with FPX. This is a team that's been relatively strong in terms of their, early and mid-game plays throughout the entirety of the Group Ascend phase here in the LPL. BLG are just taking full advantage of their mistakes, and FPX feel pressured to try to make these decisions on the back foot, and they're making gigantic mistakes in that regard, and you can really give BLG a lot of credit for forcing those. It's going to be about where they put that tempo now, though, and it could be on Jwei once again.
And I love it because it just feels like Beichuan is feeling himself. He's against the organization that brought him up through the LDL, the prodigy of FPX, but now he's locked out and taken down by FPX. As BLG looking to try to take the fight there. That's the ultimate caster curse in the middle of a team fight. And now FPX going to use that caster curse to try to take down BLG. Multi-chain CC onto Elk. And now Awesome is excited. He's trying to find the pick onto On, but they do end up finding Bin 2. That'll be 4-0 in favor of FPX.
This might not be over. On gets the stun off, but he could have been in real danger there for the ace. We were hyping up Beichuan. That is the exact caster curse that you were talking about, where it's diving in onto a Nautilus, trying to put down a ton of damage, and then flashing into 4 members.
They're laughing.
With that Xinjiao just to instantly get CC'd. It's certainly an interesting decision from Beichuan, but it's a pretty big fight overall for FPX. We see in the replay here just an overreach. No other way to put this. It's greed at its finest. And you'll see Beichuan going in, trying to get on top of the Rise and flashing it with no health. Just gets locked down immediately. Knight, his ultimate doesn't really affect the fight in the same way that it normally has, and that doesn't leave the space open for Elk to be able to free hit on the backline. It's a great ult from Sheer to be able to clean it up, but definitely an overreach there from BLG, yeah.
Really good combinations.
Oh, as we see On go down now.
Oh, well, FPX take it up, and now maybe the third item is going to be coming through here after this fight, but BLG, they're on the back foot of this one. Baron down about half health now. Sheer still full health there. FPX, they might just turn the tides here. They're down about 1,000 gold now. Things are looking better for them. Crescent Guard, Beichuan, he's getting CC'd. He's getting taken down. He's in there, but they do end up finding Sheer. Now they can reset. Into the pit they go. 50-50 for the Baron. Beichuan, he can't get in. Baron secured. Now they go for the fight. Awesome, the focus on the side by Knight, but they're taking the fight in the pit. Bin is smashing them with the hammer as Awesome takes down Elk. Now looking for the pop, but Bin sits him down. A double kill for Giga Bin. It will be a reset for Care that makes it through, and he does have the Baron buff secured by FPX.
A very chaotic fight there for both of those teams. A lot going on, and I'd love to see a replay in terms of what happened to Elk on the back end, because there was just not a ton of damage coming out, but BLG end up really kind of capitalizing on FPX overreaching. That being said, Baron went over to the side of FPX, and yes, it's only on Rise, but Rise is a pretty good champion to have the Baron buff on. This gold lead is completely neutralized. It's 1K at this point, and we'll see the replay here. This is actually On getting caught out before the fight. So
yeah, this is what we saw in the picture-in-picture.
He's just by himself here. Shadow's able to jump over the wall, and he's able to lock him down. Too much CC. You can't be too greedy as the Rel. The Inks Rocket comes in, and it's enough. I wonder if the call here should have just been to stick onto this Baron and burst it down. Felt like you could have kept Beichuan out of the pit the same way that you did, but they turned to try and fight here, and because of that, it ends up just being a little bit too much. Sheer goes way too low, way too early. We're already back into picture-in-picture as we see the rest of this replay here. It's a nice hook by Jwei to keep him out of the fight. Shadow tries to get onto the Xinjiao, but from that point onwards, Bin is doing so much damage that it's very difficult.
This Jace is really paying off, and Bin starting to pick up a little bit more here as Dragon already down about half health. BLG trying to reposition over onto this north side of the fight. Shadow first Beichuan for another 50-50, and Dragon goes away. Beichuan now the engage with the heroic entrance. On missing a little bit, but does end up getting that forward aggression. Sheer now waiting for the pickoff, waiting for the public execution. Jwei goes in. Now it's BLG trying to fight tooth and nail here, but they've already lost Knight. That front line is gone. Out forced to burn the Feather Storm. Gets locked down, gets taken down, and Awesome gonna go with that double kill for the Excited as they find the Realm Warp into the fight as well. No Baron, no objective to take, but FPX take a bite out of BLG.
The scaling has come online, Mazel. We talked about this team having so much potential in the 5v5. If they could just get there, if they could just survive long enough, this gold is equalized. And now we're at a point where FPX are not only, even with BLG, they might be ahead in terms of these expectations. You get the smite down on the Dragon for BLG, which is pretty big in this instance, but as we can see, On able to go in, but there's just no follow-up. Bin's not there to be able to fully capitalize as we see picture-in-picture.
Okay, he's gonna flash. Gets the flash out. Pin gonna go down. He does get the trade kill. 1 for 1. Now Page One gonna get the TP coming in. This game is insane. We will not stop fighting, says BLG. As Sheer trying to run away. Knight has joined. The taunt gonna be there. Now Hex Gate's also there. Taunt connects. Wind becomes lightning. Mega Death Rocket. Is it enough? Sheer goes down. It was so damn close. And now Awesome has overextended. And BLG will punish heavily as Care comes in. Going to try to take down onto Bates One. Now on, maybe sacrificing himself. Jwei coming over to lock down Bates One. BLG have been caught, overextended, and Care will scoop up 2 more kills.
Ends up being a 2 for 3 in favor of BLG in that exchange, but it's just constant. It's action after action after action. It's just no time to rest, and you love to see it from these two teams, both playing as if their life depends on it. It's getting crazy out there, Mazel. It is really starting to get a little bit fun. And I was just in the process of saying that you would think that this game state would favor FPX, but BLG staying aggressive. Man, on vision here, they look like they found a pick, but they just underestimate the Jace damage. Great flash.
It's a really good flash, but yeah, the follow-through from Shadow. But it does a very overextended fight from BLG. I do like the initiative, but the collapse from FPX is coming all along. Look, like Jwei walked all the way from Baron Pit, by the way.
Well, when you've got time on your hands, you can afford to do that. Knight is at least able to get out. I believe he's got quite a bit of gold on him, but On was supposed to be the sacrifice here. Beishuan just sticking around for fun. I imagine
for fun.
He had the potential to, Knight was able to walk out. I would imagine that the Xin Zhao would have a similar opportunity there, but that being said, like, look at the gold differences individually on the bottom of your screen here.
Yeah.
The one you really got to highlight is Care on this Rise. He's 6'2" and 7. He's up 50 CS here, 266 CS, and this Rise is starting to become quite a bit of a problem. We talked about the late game scaling because of the Jinx, but Jinx plus Rise is... Oh my god.
Shout out to Kai, our producer. 80% game 3 rate when Kai is producing. You love to hear it. I also cast a curse the hell out of this series in our prod chat too. So just know that we're scheming to make sure people are delivered 3-game series. All right, that's all I'm saying. We love to give you what you want here at LPL English. As I get yelled at by Kai saying no, we are not. Okay, but Care wants a 3-game series, as he's looking like you were talking about as a premier member here, but has been the premier member for FPX all this time. It feels like in the recent iterations, as now Jwei gonna have to burn his flash away from BLG, and maybe a collapse from FPX. 3rd, 4th items now coming through, but BLG pounced before they can even answer. Shadow is gone. Now they take the fight. Awesome trying to get the resets, but he can't do it. On is out alive, but now Awesome is down. BLG out of nowhere. They make something out of nothing, and they just take down every piece that matters of FPX. My God, the revenge is sweet, and even through the missteps, Care's being ran down by Bilibili.
Just an overreach from Bilibili that's never going to be able to be punished because Sheer is not teleporting. It's a 4v5 the entire time. The Mbessa is never involved in the exchange. Sheer ends up teleporting way too late. It's really a 3v5 after Jwei gets caught at the start, and that's a brilliant pick for BLG. It completely turns the game back into their favor. Baron is theirs, and all of a sudden the game state that we said FPX, how could they lose a front-to-back 5v5? They throw it again now. It's just the pendulum swinging back and forth again.
The throw snatched out of the jaws of victory by FPX. It was looking so good, trending their way. And BLG just pounced before they can even think about their positioning in their side of the jungle, in their blue side. And losing Shadow changes the direction that this team comp can really take. You're absolutely looking for that 100-0 CC chain with the cease and desist to get things rolling for FPX's team fights. And BLG, they just make the call. They take the dragon. That's 3rd Hextech dragon for them in a row. And now back to that premier dominance as they are almost 2,000 gold up here, 32, almost 33 minutes in.
Yeah, great shout, Mazel. I love highlighting that this is 3 Hex Dragons for BLG, and that it wouldn't just be Hex Soul, it would be 4 Hex Drakes for them if they were to grab that fourth dragon for themselves. It is now an FPX who is on a timer, which we never thought we would say, but it's the push coming down into the bot side. This tier 2 in the bot lane is gone.
Okay,
things
the play.
come down. Knight caught.
It's on to Knight. He goes golden, buying so much time on his here, but just has to watch his buddy fall as FPX moving down towards mid. They want to try to use this excited nature of Awesome as he takes down the turrets to push BLG, and now BLG are frantically trying to back. That does mean that FPX will pull off of that advantage. They do get the outer tower down, so the defense will not be there for BLG to play off of.
Certainly an interesting call. I thought BLG would be a little bit more aggressive, and if they were going to be on the bottom side of the map, it's clear that they were okay with Knight being a little bit more exposed, and you know, FPX wanted to play aggressive, but they didn't even push for the bot inhib tower, which I thought would be the goal there. And at the end of the day, it's just Knight losing his Baron. You don't lose too much here, except for mid-tier 1, which you're okay with, but Knight, again, just too far forward. It's a proactive play from FPX as we see him get caught out here, but both of these teams kind of hanging on a knife's edge, and that was definitely a good example of that.
And now we're on 4th items coming through for everybody, just about, at least the carries. Getting closer and closer to 5th items, full builds as well. Knight very close to his too. Deciding Dragon in about 3 minutes. TP preemptively from BLG towards bot side. They're bringing all 5 bodies down here. TP in defense coming through from Care. The reset from Shadow, but they're a little bit behind the ball.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of minion wave here though. They do only have the cannon, but Baron buff still up for 20 seconds. Another wave is coming in. BLG trying to crack open another inhib turret.
Shadow is still not back. He is just making his way to the fight now, and
It's
that tower
down.
is gone. It's just way too late. Is
Engage.
he engaged now?
Jwei's just gone. Elk obliterates him. As now Bates 1, the focus on the side, still going forward, popping the crescent guard, buying some space, buying some time. The inhib has fallen as well. Bates 1 will give his life. They get some lasting damage into that bot lane now, but BLG need to escape. Sheer and FPX trying to follow through. Looks like they will back away. Still, though, the inhib going down. Now BLG can play around that. Shadow actually looking for a long angle here.
Behind
Sees
them.
the counter engage from BLG. They just go straight on to Care. Now Ben getting low. Heroic entrance in, but he dies to Care. And now Awesome is getting excited. And FPX fans everywhere starting to scream as they wipe BLG. On will be the only one left.
What is happening in this game, Mazel? It's just fight after fight. It's throw after throw. BLG presumably back off because they're scared of the fight, but On's not even safe here. Shadow. Oh. That's the ace from FPX. What is happening? BLG clearly scared of the 5v5. There's no other reason to back off after you end up bursting down Jwei, but they end up opting into it anyways. They end up re-engaging because they're scared of Shadow on the flank, but the moment that Awesome gets excited, that fight is over, and now they're base.
Oh, Beituan's in trouble. He's under turret, but that turret is not going to save him. He goes into the fight, and now he gives the excited set to Awesome, who now, they're just going to win the game. FPX are just going to win the game. They're going to bring us to 3 games. This scaling out of nowhere.
It's over.
FPX turn it on its head. BLG, they dropped the ball, and we talked about grabbing it out of the jaws of victory. Well, FPX even up the series.
What did we just watch, Mazel? What kind of game did we just experience in game number 2? I cannot believe what we have just seen. I'm decompressing right now as we just saw play after play, both teams looking indecisive, and unfortunately, it really cost BLG.
I think Kai, our producer, might kill me. I think I might have to sign off here. Great drawing from our wonderful mods. What a game of all time, man. We were so close to the most kills in the game there. We got to like 54, 55 or something along those lines. It was absolute insanity. And Bait one since I was still 0% win rate with BLG. So,
watch out, Mazel.
Oh my god.
Watch out.
Yeah, you know. I mean, honestly, might not be sleeping tonight. So we might be in here for the long haul. As my goodness, FPX, a stunning victory. BLG at so many times were ahead, unable to do it. Some big missteps from Beituan across the table in that series, or at least in that game, not in that series. And FPX pull a little bit of miracle out of the hat. That's some fun stuff right there.
Is it fair to say that the Beishuan Xinjiao experiment has not gone well so
Yes,
far?
I'd
Are we
say so.
allowed to really start that
so.
narrative for BLG?
Oh my gosh.
We saw some interesting, that's the word I've started using, interesting plays from him in the jungle, but both of these teams had leads throughout this game that they ended up throwing. FPX felt like they were on the comeback until, Sheer forgot to teleport into a fight, and they ended up, taking a 3v5 that they got blasted in and gave over Baron. But, BLG, the real question mark to me was, you just got to understand what you want to do. What's the decision?
Yeah.
You got to be decisive on the bot side of the map. Giving up Knight for free and not pushing for inhibitor turret, and then, killing Jwei and not going any further, backing off and allowing FPX to regroup and flank you. It's that indecisiveness that really cost them.
Yeah. And in a lot of those situations, honestly, we could see a little bit on both sides. That's a gold grab of all time, man. That is pure, quantifiable LPL gold grab for you, delivered hot and fresh by FPX and BLG in game number 2. Awesome, picking up where he needed to. 0 objectives except for that one Baron over a couple dragons. And still an FPX win where they weathered the storm. They knew their win condition. We said going into draft, they had a lot easier conditions to play around, and it made it pretty simple once they started getting in those really, really hot and heavy fights.
Hey, I'm not going to brag too much after just one game, but the hyper carries are looking good. The Jinx definitely looked pretty strong if you can delay the game pretty heavily. I think credit to FPX for really keeping their head on their shoulders. I think a lot of teams would have gotten a little bit nervous after having the lead and kind of throwing it away. They understood they weren't out of that game. They could always win a 5v5 in the right situation. They kept playing aggressive, and they came back. They did everything they needed to do here, and they set up their carry to be the most successful in the game. This
might be the longest. I mean, we're starting so far into all these fights because there are so many clips. There's so much fighting. Again, we had like 52 plus kills. That's the last number I remember. I know there was one more fight after that, but I'm going to go off what I remember, which is just absolutely insane for both these teams. It was constant chaos, constant fighting. Moments like this, these are the kinds of things that maybe BLG could have been on a little bit more stable ground if they didn't have things fall out like this. But really good direction from FPX. They had a very big target on Elk every single time, getting the kind of cease and desist public execution combo on him. And the follow-through damage was always there.
Yeah, I think what I was impressed by is something I highlighted in-game where they really needed to slow the pace of the game down. When they were pushing the tempo and trying to take a lot of these fights, that's when things were going a little bit sour for FPX. The moment they let the game come to them and let that Jinx just play front to back and, force BLG to overextend because they're going to do it. It's BLG. They're going to eventually go a little too far forward. That's when they started to feel a lot more comfortable, and that's when Awesome especially started to take over. But just understanding, I think, is a great way to put it, and executing on the win condition as well.
Just wondering now who gets MVP for FPX.
That's a tough one.
Beishuan, their old jungler.
Yeah, I think he's allowed. I think he's allowed in this game. Yeah.
I think actually Awesome deserves a lot, even though maybe he didn't have the brightest score line as the Jinx. The fights a lot of the time ended up getting holistically won because of his strength and a lot of utilization of the attack speed you get from the excited passive. But I don't know. I mean, you had a lot of really good setups there from Shadow too, so it's tough.
Yeah, I think Care is also within the conversation. True. Just for the large lead that he was able to generate himself. He really kept FPX in the mid game. I think things would have gotten really out of control if he had not been as strong as he was. He dissuaded a lot of plays, but you're right. I think that there are a lot of good options. I think any of the main real, I guess, facilitators here for FPX, whether that be the Rise to kind of get them into the mid game, the Vi to set things up, or the Jinx to take advantage of it, they all would make sense here.
Yeah, I think a lot of choices to make, even though maybe the choices from game 1 are still holding in my head.
Something
I'm looking
tells me
at
you
you,
won't be quite
LPL.
as mad. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be as mad for game 2. So
probably not.
I hope.
I hope not.
Hey, with everything that's going on,
8 of 8 jungle votes with Knight's first. Anyway, I'm not going to crash out. It's fine. Goose Rabah. It's fine. We're going to see who gets the MVP for the second game, as FPX have taken BLG the distance now. We've seen this before. Just earlier this week, FPX beat BLG 2-1, but that was when Jwei was on the roster. We thought maybe Beichuan, after that clean performance last night, could be the difference maker coming through, but seems like still finding some of those issues that BLG had been battling throughout this entire split number 2 so far. As we get Shadow as the MVP, the setup king, and the Vi will get his 7th MVP of the split so far.
Totally understandable to give it to the Vi. Those flanks, in particular, in the back half of the game were absolutely ginormous. Sure. Really cut off a lot of what BLG wanted to do. It's clear that they didn't feel comfortable fighting 5v5. Shadow forced a lot of those 5v5s, and so you definitely feel comfortable with that. But I do think this was a team effort for FPX. I think if any one of their players had been significantly worse than everybody else on the Rift, it would have been a lot more difficult. And so I want to give a lot of praise to all 5 members. I'm a little concerned for them now going back to red side, especially because Xin Zhao is off the board, which means Beichuan can't play it. So you might not be able to take advantage of that, but definitely going to be interesting to see where the adaptations end up coming in.